Princess Bride by S. Morgenstern, Chapter 1.
The Princess Bride. If you're familiar with this title, then you're probably thinking of the 1987 adventure comedy film, but did you know it was actually a book first? Written in 1973 by William Goldman, The Princess Bride tells the story of a certain farmhand known as Wesley and the obstacles through which he must pass to cement his life with his one true love, Princess Buttercup. Along the way, we encounter monsters, giants, and Spaniards. Oh my! We witness climactic duels, unexpected friendships, betrayal, torture, miracles, the list goes on and on. Such an enthralling tale was bound to attract the eye of filmmakers across the globe. However, the path from the novel to the movie was not as straightforward as you might think. In 1973, 20th Century Fox bought the film rights to The Princess Bride for $500,000. With Richard Lester being the director of choice. However, the project was put on hold when Fox's head of production was fired. Goldman then bought back the rights to the film out of pocket. Several other directors threw their hats into the ring, but it was Rob Reiner who was finally successful in bringing this epic tale to the big screen. Reiner and Goldman collaborated closely to write the screenplay for the movie, which explains the script's close resemblance to the novel. In 1987, The Princess Bride was finally released and was distributed by, wouldn't you know it, 20th Century Fox. Right off the bat, The Princess Bride was met with critical acclaim from fans and critics alike. It grossed over $30 million in the box office, and to this day, it sits comfortably on many greatest film leaderboards, including Channel 4's 50 Greatest Comedy Films and AFI's 100 Years 100 Passions list. What makes this movie so great, you ask? The movie presents itself as a story within a story, with the novel being read by a grandfather, played by Peter Falk, to his sickly grandson, played by Fred Savage. Though he's resistant at first, over the course of the film, the grandson becomes increasingly enchanted by the story.
When's it get good?
Today we are going to take a look at one of the many aspects that elevate this film beyond a simple fairy tale: the fight scenes. Ah yes, the fabled battle between the orphaned Spaniard and the dreaded Man in Black, who may or may not be a certain farm boy. I mean, I can't possibly tell underneath that clever disguise. The fight begins as all good fights do, with the two contestants sharing their most intimate life stories while simultaneously vowing to stab each other to death.
Do you always begin conversations this way?
Now, everything you see here is 100% real, and apart from the two somersaults, which were performed by stunt doubles, this is entirely Patinkin and Elwes, the actors who played Inigo and Wesley respectively. They spent 2 weeks prior to this scene learning to fence with both hands and practicing the choreography, spending almost all of their time in between takes practicing together.
You know, you watch the sword fighting, every frame of sword play is both Mandy and Carrie. They do it all, so...
Why do you want to do it that way?
Well, because it's more real. It's more believable if the real guys are actually doing it.
During our lunch breaks, you know, Carrie would be shooting when I wasn't shooting. I'd be shooting when Carrie wasn't shooting. So the only time we had to practice together was during lunch or dinner break. So all our lunch and dinner breaks, we practiced sword fighting.
They were trained by none other than Bob Anderson and Peter Diamond, both of whom had trained actors in the Star Wars trilogy prior to this film. Everything about this battle is meant to be theatrical and entertaining. Let's take a look at the camera angles during this battle. Lots of wide-angle shots, over-the-shoulder shots, and very few genuine close-ups. Both actors are clearly visible throughout the entire battle, with the camera changing sparingly to follow them. This is a far cry from most fight scenes today, and it allows their choreography to really shine through. The theatricality of this scene cannot be overstated. Take these lines, for example.
Because I know something you don't know.
And what is that?
I am not left-handed.
These moments are purely for dramatic effect and comedic relief, and the comedic style of this movie never relinquishes, not even during the most intense fight scenes. The set design here is also worth noting. Take a look at the terrain, the sky, the surrounding rocks. This, in combination with the filming style, almost feels as if we are watching a performance on stage. The aesthetics of this film vary greatly, but in this particular scene, the effect of the set design evokes the feelings associated with a theatrical performance. The contrast between this glamorous, fantastical world and the outside, real world is what gives this film its postmodern flair. Of course, how could one forget about the climactic duel between Inigo Montoya and Count Rugen? If you're familiar with anything from this movie, chances are it's this line.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Unlike the aforementioned battle, this one takes place indoors. It relies almost entirely on over-the-shoulder shots and close-up shots. Not only does this emphasize the magnitude of this duel, but it allows viewers to see the facial expressions and the emotions of both actors. While Inigo and Wesley fought like adversaries who aren't really battling to the death despite what they might say, Inigo and Rugen fight wildly and broadly as if their lives were building up to this moment, which in Inigo's case it certainly was. This film thrives on a dramatic aesthetic. In fact, it's often considered to be one of the best dramatic films of all time. And rightfully so, in my opinion. In the years to come, it would be often emulated but hardly ever matched. Many subsequent films seem to emulate many elements from The Princess Bride, if not copying it in its entirety. This film's success is achieved through clever dialogue that intensifies when necessary.
I'm not left-handed either.
And camera work that is appropriate to the underlying theme in each scene. This film might not seem revolutionary on paper, but it demonstrates a profound understanding of what makes for a successful fairy tale, and even puts a postmodern spin on it by giving the film a meta element with the grandfather and grandson. Some would say The Princess Bride perfected its genre. Whether this is true or not, the impact it had was undeniable, and it's safe to say that it deserves its spot amongst the greatest films ever made. Thank you for watching this video. This has been Super Milesio, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.